feature presentation.
Anu, hi, how are you?
Well, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. Congrats on the beginning of your run on She-Hulk today. Today's episode was fantastic. I was telling people already I need to find my own drip broker to get some Avengers merch because I need that snapback so badly.
Avengers merch. I think we have some around. I like
Yeah.
Jessica. Jessica's fiance designed all of that, all of
Oh
the
my God.
years. Yeah.
That's awesome. So just to quickly kick things off, we know kind of how passionate kind of MCU fans are. So I just wanted to do like, how are you feeling now that your episodes have finally started to begin? It's been kind of a long wait. You shot this a while ago. It's been 4 weeks of episodes before yours aired. Like, have you gone online to see what people think of the episode? Have you done a vibe check, or do you kind of just put your stuff out into the wild and kind of move on to what's next?
Well, it's funny because well, first of all, I was so excited by the response to Cat's episodes in the first.
Yeah.
It was so exciting. I was like, oh my God, people are liking it. So, and I had nothing to do with the first four. I was just like, okay, that's good. That's nice. Everyone's liking it because you just don't know. And so then you're like, okay, I hope people aren't just severely disappointed. But it's also not about me. You just want to make sure there's so many people involved in this. And so I think, I mean, honestly, I haven't even had time to look at Twitter, but I don't really want to because I'm like,
Yeah.
that's great. And if people don't like it, I don't know what to tell you. It's already done. And so I think the thing I just feel is I want people to feel connected to the story. I want them to be excited. And then it's out of my hands. You're just, I think, and I'm excited that as it starts to roll out, I don't have to worry about spoilers. I'm so scared.
Oh yeah, no, well, I mean, you got that tease at the end of this episode, not spoiling anything here, but everyone should watch today's episode. But yeah, you're starting to see that stuff trickle out, and I think the reaction's been great. Like, people, I've already, like you said, the first kind of 4 episodes that Kat did with the kind of memeing of different things and people being kind of really into kind of the comedy. And then in today's episode, I saw people post about that Avengers stuff, post about a ton of the drip broker, like I mentioned. It's already kind of taking its own thing online. I know you probably get this question maybe a lot during this whole day and things like that, but how did you get involved in She-Hulk? So were you a big MCU fan, or was this just kind of a universe you wanted to take a stab at, or was it more just on the TV side, like the law side of things? How did you get involved with She-Hulk?
Yeah. Can you imagine if I was I just love legal comedy?
Yeah. I mean,
Marvel, that'd be so insane. Funny to think about if I was just I love legal comedies. But no, I read, so okay, so I was a huge Incredible Hulk comic book reader, and I wasn't as familiar as She-Hulk. And then in the past few years, I've been reading and being oh, she's so funny. She's so funny and cool, and I think the way it's been adapted for TV, I also think, even though I think Jennifer Walters feels she's not cool, I think she's very cool. And
absolutely.
And she's very funny to me, in her self-deprecating humor. But I read the scripts and I was like, whoa, what Jessica and the writers are doing with the show is so relevant, feels so close. Even the pilot, it's she's worried that she's a diversity hire. And that's so real. It's so specific. That's me, I felt. And so I was just wow, what they're doing with the show is so biting, and it's kind of unafraid to go to really deeply complex emotional spaces, which I think you see a little bit in episodes 4 and 5, how she gets rejected by this guy who is a nice guy, but is not really into who she really is. And that's just a very real thing. And I was so excited, ooh, a Marvel show tackling these really, it's a funny, a true comedy, which is where that's sort of the TV stuff I've done, with this real human, complex interior. It was so exciting. And then I was oh, please let me do this.
That's awesome. Yeah, and you're making great points, because I think why I love this show so much is because it does feel different than everything else in the MCU. One thing I'm noticing, there's not a ton of action in the show at all, and I mean that in a good way. Of I feel like now that we're 10 plus years into the MCU and superhero movies and TV shows, like we're starting to finally get to a point where we're kind of playing around with the genre, and not everything needs to be kind of an action movie or show. And I think that's why this show works so well. And like, is that something you guys ever worried about? Was it like, oh man, we really don't have a lot of action in the show. Do you think people will still be into it? Or was it from the go like that a choice that you guys wanted to kind of go with? You kind of already touched on it a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, everything is very by design. And I feel like, again, like I credit all of that to the writers, because it's like, I get these scripts and I will work with Jessica on like certain scenes and stuff, but that like larger is by design, and playing with the expectations of what you think the show is. And how can you also show fighting in a different way? So like episode 5 is like a courtroom. Like, the second showdown between them to be with Titania and Jen and SheHulk to be like, oh, they're gonna fight, right? And like they do not at all. Like we're just in a room talking. Yep. And so I thought that was that's completely by design, and that's like a really fun way to play with your expectations, so that you don't have that fatigue of like here, and like how do you sort of beat that and make an interesting fight sequence in a half-hour comedy? It's sort of like, how do you kind of play around with what you think you want to see in a Marvel show?
Yeah, absolutely. Jumping off that, I know comedy is kind of your bread and butter, but would there be another genre or kind of style you'd like to see kind of be done in the MCU, or something that you'd possibly like to do yourself?
Oh, in the MCU, I don't know. I'm such a fan. Like, I'm so happy with the things that are being made, and like these new the shows between like Loki and Moon Knight and WandaVision, like, you know, they're doing some really fun stuff. Like, and the talent Kevin is bringing in behind the scenes and in front is so exciting. Like I think of like Nia DaCosta, who's directing Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
Dude, we went to school together. Like, it's
awesome.
Watch. This is just like, I'm just very excited. Like she's such a smart filmmaker, and I'm like, yeah, I want to see your version of Captain Marvel too. So I think just like, I'm such a fan. So there's nothing off the top of my head that I'm like, I want to see this. I'm just happy to be here.
Hey, that's cool too. I'm assuming this is the most you've worked with kind of special effects in a TV show that you've worked on. I could be wrong, but how was it working kind of with motion capture and kind of that post-production process of working? I know, like, you know, the most in this is Jennifer as She-Hulk, but how was working kind of in the special effects kind of realm of that? Well,
this was, so the visual effects, never worked with like a complete CGI character before.
Yeah.
And so much of it, and it was pretty daunting, just in terms of like technically in the shooting of it. It's just a lot. It takes a lot of time, and I think in the Marvel universe, I mean, they'd never done a TV show that was all CGI, so there was like a learning curve for me, and then a learning curve for everybody. But it was really fun because, like, you know, I'd be working with the VFX supervisors and just be like asking them, like, it was like, you know, Kevin hires these filmmakers and present you with the best, literally forefront of technology, and you just learn. So it was a lot of times I was just talking to the VFX supervisor, like, so what'd you guys do for Doom? Like, tell me what you did there. You know what I mean? Like, just getting to learn from them was so fun. But in the end, it's like, if the characters and the stories aren't strong, none of it means anything. But yeah, the VFX team was stellar. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, we got to wrap in 1 minute. Anything you want to tease on the next kind of upcoming 2 episodes? There was a great kind of stinger right at the end of the episode, and I don't know whether we want to go into spoiler territory, but is there anything you kind of want to tease in your upcoming 2 episodes before we wrap?
I think that like these next 2 episodes go in places I don't think you're going to expect. And I say that because I read the script, so I was like, oh. And so hopefully people will enjoy them.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for doing this. Everyone go watch She-Hulk. It is fantastic. Anu, good luck with everything. Can't wait to see the next couple episodes.
Thank you so much, Matt.